The moment Aaron opened his mouth, I knew something was coming. But not this. He stood up at the front of the staff leadership meeting like he owned the place, like he hadn't spent the last decade pretending to be my mentor while quietly undermining me behind closed doors. Look, I respect her work ethic, he said, motioning toward me with that fake-ass smile, but I don't think someone whose resume starts with admin assistant should be leading the strategic vision of a national nonprofit. I felt my stomach twist. The room went dead quiet. That was it. That was the move. My name is Rachel. I'm 38. I live in Silver Spring, Maryland. And last week, I was named Executive Director of Code Access, one of the fastest-growing tech education nonprofits in the country. I'd busted my ass for 12 years to get here. Aaron was supposed to be my mentor, Director of Program Development and the golden boy of the board. Now he was standing there, challenging my right to lead and making it clear he'd been planning this ambush for a while. Quick note, before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from? People I'd known for years, people I'd shared office pizza with at midnight, were suddenly focused real hard on their notepads. No one looked up. No one pushed back. Just 24 hours earlier, Aaron had walked into my office without knocking and demanded I publicly thank him for making my career. I'd looked him dead in the eye and said, I succeeded in spite of you, not because of you. Guess he didn't like that answer. Several members of the board have raised concerns, he said now, still facing the room. They're questioning whether Rachel's background really prepares her for this role. I cut in. Then let's bring it to the board. He smirked. Gladly. I turned to Geneva, our board chair, sitting in the corner with her arms crossed. Emergency meeting. Tomorrow morning. She gave a slight nod. That was all I needed. I didn't say another word. I gathered my laptop, my notepad, my water bottle, and walked out. My heels hit the tile harder than I meant them to, but I didn't care. I didn't know who was on my side anymore. I just knew I wasn't going down without swinging. I didn't sleep. Instead of prepping legal arguments or chasing board members for support, I got in my car just after 11 and drove to our Northeast DC training center. I didn't call ahead, didn't warn anyone. I just showed up. The night security guard squinted at me through the glass before buzzing me in. Everything okay, Ms. Executive Director? Just checking in. I smiled, but my voice was flat. I walked straight to the back labs. An older black woman was loading cables into bins. Her name tag said Tanya. She blinked. You lost? Nope. I'm here to find out what's actually happening down here. She stared at me for a second like I was joking. Then she set the bin down. You serious? Dead serious. What's broken? What's missing? What's been ignored? I want it all. She crossed her arms. You got a notepad? I pulled one out of my bag and flipped it open. By 1 in the morning, I'd spoken to 3 instructors, a curriculum designer, and 2 janitors. I'd seen half-dead printers held together with duct tape. I'd taken pictures of exposed wires in a corner used for student projects. One instructor told me he was still waiting on reimbursement for a conference from 8 months ago. I drove to Baltimore next. Same story, different faces. A young Latina instructor there told me she'd tried to report her manager twice for hostile behavior. HR said they'd get back to me. That was last year. Who's the manager? I asked. She hesitated. Aaron hired him. They're tight. I didn't say anything. I just wrote it down. By 5:30, I hit the Alexandria Center. I found one guy, James, mopping near the front desk, earbuds in. He jumped when he saw me. Ma'am, you shouldn't be here right now. This place isn't really safe when it's dark. I raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? There's no exterior lights? 2 break-ins last month. Management still hasn't fixed it. Was that reported? He laughed. To who? Nobody answers the damn email line. I wrote faster. My hand was cramping by the time I got back in the car at 6:15. At 7:45, I walked into the boardroom. I hadn't changed clothes. I hadn't showered. I didn't need polish. I needed truth. By 8 sharp, the seats were full. Geneva, the rest of the board, and Aaron, looking smug in a blue blazer and striped tie like he was headed to a country club brunch. He leaned back when he saw me. I hope you brought notes, he said. I brought more than that. The door opened behind me. One by one, center employees walked in. Instructors, analysts, janitors, even a cafeteria worker, maybe 24 in total. Aaron sat up straighter, confused. What's this? He asked. Observers, I said. All front line, all impacted by our leadership decisions. They deserve to be in the room. He looked to Geneva like he expected her to shut it down. She didn't. Then his face changed. Not anger, not yet, but something closer to fear wrapped in arrogance. I walked over to the head of the table and placed my worn notepad down hard. Before we talk about qualifications, I said, let's talk about reality. Aaron didn't move. He knew what was coming. Geneva cleared her throat and tapped her pen twice on the table. The format Rachel proposed has been approved, she said. Staff observers are permitted to stay. This meeting is in session. Aaron jerked forward in his chair. You can't be serious. Floor-level staff in a board meeting? That's a breach of protocol? Geneva didn't flinch. This board is here to understand the full scope of our organization's challenges. If staff can offer clarity, they stay. He shot me a glare like I'd rigged the whole thing. I just stared back. You wanted a showdown? Here it is. Geneva nodded toward me. Rachel, begin. I didn't need to. The staff had already begun standing. First up was Malik, a senior IT instructor from Baltimore, arms crossed, voice steady. We've been running outdated software for over a year, he said. Firewall patches haven't been updated, and we had 3 phishing attacks in 2 months. The reason? Program budget cuts from Aaron's division. You've put student data at risk. Aaron rolled his eyes. That's an exaggeration. Everyone's dealing with budget strain. This isn't unique to us. Malik didn't budge. Except, we have students sharing passwords to log into machines because licenses haven't been renewed. Geneva turned to Aaron. Is that accurate? Aaron shifted. I'll have to check with procurement. No, I said. You approved that freeze last quarter. I was in the room. It wasn't procurement. A woman in a gray cardigan stood next. I recognized her, Julia, a data analyst from our DC office. I brought something, she said, sliding a folder to the center of the table. Spreadsheets from the last 6 fiscal years. Aaron's department reclassified failed pilot programs as administrative overhead. Attrition in those regions tripled. Aaron leaned forward, voice rising. This is a coordinated takedown. Rachel's orchestrating this entire performance to smear me. I cut in. No one needed me to orchestrate anything. These voices were always here. You just never listened. He scoffed. So, this is what we're doing now? Letting janitors and interns set strategy? A sharp intake of breath came from the back of the room. Geneva sat up straighter. These aren't interns. These are your staff. Our staff. The people running your programs while you hoarded credit. A facilities coordinator from Alexandria raised his hand, holding up a photo of cracked wiring behind a server rack. That's still hot, he said. We flagged it twice last fall. No one followed up. Aaron muttered something under his breath, but I didn't care. I could feel the shift in the room, the slow turning of a wheel that had been stuck for years. Geneva cleared her throat again. I think we've heard enough. We'll move to vote on the following. Initiation of a formal leadership review process concerning Aaron Wilcox, effective immediately. Are you kidding me? Aaron said, standing. You're voting on hearsay? No, Geneva said. We're voting on patterns. Patterns backed by data, complaints, and ignored staff warnings. The board secretary began calling names for the vote. One by one, the hands went up. I didn't vote. I wasn't allowed to. The final count came in, 7-2 in favor. Geneva looked directly at Aaron. You're being placed on administrative leave, effective immediately. You'll receive further instructions by end of day. He slammed his palm on the table. This is a witch hunt. You're all going to regret this. No, I said quietly. We've regretted staying silent. That ends today. Security was already waiting outside the door. Geneva motioned, and they stepped in. Aaron glared at me as they approached, shaking his head. You don't belong in that seat. You're not ready. I stood. I've been ready for years. You just kept standing in the way. He didn't say another word, just grabbed his bag and stormed out. The security team close behind. The door shut. The silence left behind didn't feel like victory. It felt like the start of something bigger. The door shut behind Aaron, and for about 5 seconds, the boardroom felt like clean air. Then came the fallout. By the next morning, departments were frozen. Whole workflows stalled out. Approvals, access, invoices. Everything ran through Aaron's division, and he'd never documented a damn thing. No organizational charts, no SOPs, not even shared passwords. What the hell was he running? Ren asked me in our first emergency debrief. A kingdom, I said, and he never expected to be dethroned. I didn't waste time. I pulled together 3 cross-functional teams: ops, finance, and program recovery. I gave them one rule: document everything. No assumptions, no back channels, no gatekeeping. If someone said, "That's just how we've always done it," we flagged it. We found rogue pilot programs we'd never approved, one running in Indianapolis under a fake code name. There were contracts signed without legal review, checks issued to consultants no one had ever met, and grant reports Aaron had apparently written himself with made-up performance data. HR was worse. "I need a full archive review," I told our interim director. "Every complaint filed in the last 10 years. No filters." He nodded, but he looked nervous. 2 days later, I got a call. "You're going to want to see this in person." I walked into HR and saw the stack, a literal stack. Paper forms shoved into a locked cabinet labeled, "Closed, no action." 37 complaints, harassment, retaliation, toxic leadership. Most of them never made it past Aaron's circle. All loyalists. A few had even gotten promotions afterward. We flagged every case and reopened the ones with names still on staff. Legal got involved immediately. By the end of the week, we were putting together a whole new organizational map. One that made sense, one that people could actually follow without needing backroom favors to get things done. Then the message came. Printed. No return address. Left on my desk at the office. "Don't get cozy in that chair. You're next." I stared at it for a long minute. No punctuation, no handwriting, just a typed warning in plain black ink. I called security. We added cameras, ID badge logs, and desk-level audits. My home security system got an upgrade too. New motion sensors, smart locks, the whole thing. I didn't tell my parents. They'd just worry. I didn't tell my friends either. Most of them didn't even know what was really going on. I just told myself one thing: if they're scared enough to threaten me, I'm getting close. The next day, someone tried to wipe access to Aaron's old email archive. Lucky for us, Ren had already mirrored the drive. I walked straight into our IT department, held up the access log, and said, "Who was in the system last night?" They didn't even try to lie. It was one of Aaron's old project managers, still employed, still sneaky. We locked her out immediately and started pulling her communications too. Every time we opened a door, 5 more showed up behind it. And I walked through everyone. No fear, no hesitation. I wasn't just cleaning up a mess. I was building something no one could bury again. I was halfway through reviewing reopened HR cases when Ren knocked once and stepped into my office, looking like he hadn't slept in days. "We've got a problem," he said. "A big one?" I pushed the stack aside. "How big?" He dropped a folder in front of me. "Check page 4. It was a budget summary from the Springfield Center, one of our newer locations, supposedly struggling with hardware access. Line item, $68,000. Consultant fee, vendor, Echo Delta Group. I frowned. We didn't approve any consultants for Springfield. "Exactly," Ren said. "And Echo Delta Group doesn't exist." He slid another page over, a printout from a Maryland business registry. Echo Delta Group, LLC. Registered address, mailbox rental in Columbia. Owner listed as Miles Wilcox, Aaron's cousin. I leaned back, jaw tight. "This show up anywhere else?" Ren nodded slowly. 8 times, across 5 centers. It's not just laptops. We found ADA retrofit budgets rerouted too. Money meant for elevators, signage, accessibility upgrades. Gone. "How much total?" he exhaled. "So far?" "Just under $600,000, and that's what we've confirmed." I didn't ask what we hadn't. At the next board meeting, I laid it out. Cold. 6 figures in program funding has been funneled through shell vendors tied to Aaron's family, I said, handing out a packet of Ren's findings. This is no longer a process issue. It's financial misconduct. The room got heavy fast. Geneva stayed quiet, flipping through the documents like she was memorizing every number, but some of the others didn't take it so well. "We need to handle this internally," said Paul, one of our older board members. "This could blow back on the entire organization if it leaks." "Which is why we need full legal disclosure," I shot back. "You don't fight corruption by managing optics." "It's not that simple," another member added. "Donors could walk. Press could spin this as an executive scandal." "It is an executive scandal," I said, "and if we try to bury it, we become part of it." The vote stalled, no resolution. We adjourned in silence. That night, another message came. It was a text this time, Untraceable number. No name. They'll blame you when this burns down. I stared at it for a long time before locking my phone and walking downstairs to the office security team. This is the second threat, I told them. You get everything you need to log, store, and track it. No more secrets. I want all comms scanned for the next 60 days. The head of security gave me a look. You expecting more? Yeah, I said. A hell of a lot more. 2 days later, Ren found another shell firm. This one called Alta Vertex. Same setup. Different name. Same damn mailbox shop in Colombia. Another $90,000 gone. The ADA compliance officer pulled me aside during a walkthrough. I asked Aaron 3 times about the elevators at our Raleigh site, she said. He told me the upgrades were in progress. That was 2 years ago. Was any work ever done? Not a single bolt. We started cross-referencing invoices with vendor addresses, contractor names, everything. It unraveled fast. No physical work, no on-site visits, just checks and disappearing trails. The board was shaken, but the cracks were showing. Paul cornered me after the next session. You're putting the whole organization at risk. No, I said. Aaron already did that. I'm just dragging it into daylight. He looked at me like he pitied me. Like I was naive for thinking daylight mattered. But I didn't flinch. If they wanted to protect the brand more than the mission, they could vote me out. Until then, I wasn't backing off. I walked back into my office, shut the door, and opened my notebook. Every thread we pulled went deeper than the last. But I wasn't alone, and I wasn't scared. The air in the garage was thick and damp, like the concrete was sweating. I was walking to my car, coffee in one hand, phone in the other, when I saw him leaning against a concrete pillar, hood up, eyes dark, unshaven. Aaron. He looked like hell. Got a minute? He asked, voice low. I didn't slow down. You're not supposed to be on site. He stepped forward anyway. Just hear me out. I stopped, only because I wanted this over with. He looked around like someone might be listening, then dropped his hood. His hair was a mess. His eyes were bloodshot. But his tone, still smooth, still rehearsed. I'm willing to end this quietly, he said. We make a joint statement. Budget miscommunication, shared oversight, internal errors. No bad guy, no criminal intent. And what do you get? I asked. I resign. No lawsuit, no drama. I get a severance package. I walk away. You get to clean house without a media circus. I tilted my head. You really think I'd sign off on that? He raised his hands like he was being reasonable. You're not dumb, Rachel. You've got donors, enrollment, morale to protect. Why drag the whole org through the mud when we can wrap this up clean? I stared at him for a long second, pretending to weigh it. Then I asked, and the instructors who got silenced? The students we let down? The kid in Raleigh who couldn't use the damn building because you stole the ADA budget? His jaw clenched. That was operational complexity, not theft. You funneled money through your cousin's shell companies. Prove I knew that. I took a step closer. We did. His calm cracked for a second. His eyes darted past me, then back. His mouth twitched. This is pragmatism, he said. You're in over your head. If this blows, they'll come for you next. They already are. He dropped the act. You really think you'll survive the fire you started? I didn't start it, I said. You lit it years ago. I just stopped pretending I didn't smell the smoke. His hands curled into fists, but he forced another smile. You're still playing the part, the crusader, the savior. No, I said. I'm the one who stayed, who listened, who showed up when no one else did. He didn't answer. Footsteps echoed behind me. Security. 2 guards, on rotation, heading our way. Aaron saw them and took a step back. This is your last chance to do this the easy way, he said. I didn't move. There's no easy way, I said. Not anymore. He backed away, slow and bitter. The guards spotted him and sped up. I didn't need to say anything. They knew who he was. I turned, unlocked my car, and got in without looking back. Let him explain why he was in a restricted garage. Let him beg for another exit. I was done giving him doors. 2 hours after the parking garage run-in, I sat at the board table again, this time with the audit report in my hands. Thick, spiral-bound, and heavy as hell. Not just in weight, but in damage. Geneva opened the meeting. Her voice was steady, but I could see the tension in her shoulders. Let's begin. I stood. No warm-up, No soft landing. The forensic audit is complete, I said. We found $4.8 million in misused funds, spanning 6 years, across 12 sites. I handed out the summary packet. Nobody reached for the copies. Not yet. Laptops, accessibility upgrades, instructor stipends, staff reimbursements, all siphoned off through falsified invoices and shell vendors. Geneva looked down at her packet, then back at me. Aaron? I nodded. And Vincent. That broke the silence. Our CFO? Paul snapped, already red in the face. You're saying Vincent was in on this? Dual sign-off, I said. On every transaction over 50 grand. He approved every one. Geneva looked like someone had slapped her. But Vincent supported the investigation. Only after we locked the accounts? No one spoke for a long minute, just the quiet shuffle of papers and the hum of the AC. Finally, Geneva leaned forward. This goes deeper than mismanagement. It's fraud, I said, at the executive level. We either own it or become part of it. One of the newer board members, Dana, raised her hand like she was bracing for impact. What does own it mean? It means full disclosure, I said. We notify the regulators, file with the authorities, go public with the internal findings, no buried memos, no spun narratives. Paul shook his head hard. You'll sink us. You go public with this. We lose donor confidence, kill future grants, and drag the whole name through the mud. We already are in the mud, I shot back. The only difference is whether we lie about it. A few heads nodded. A few didn't move at all. We vote, Geneva said. Now. I called for disclosure. Paul called for internal settlement. 7 board members. I needed 4. Geneva turned to each of them in order. No delays. 1 vote for disclosure, 1 for internal cleanup, another for disclosure. Then a number, tied, 3-3. Geneva was last. She didn't speak for a full 10 seconds. Just stared down at the audit packet like it was burning through the table. Then she said, a full disclosure. We do this right. 4-3. It passed. I exhaled. Didn't realize I'd been holding it. The meeting closed with no press release yet, just instructions. Legal would start prepping public documentation. Regulator contact would happen by Friday. By the time I got home, the sun was down and the exhaustion had sunk deep in my bones. I threw my keys on the counter, kicked off my shoes, and checked my phone. 1 new message, no number. You just lit the fuse. I stared at it in the dark, phone screen glowing in my hand. No punctuation, no name. Same tone. But this time, I didn't feel rattled. I felt ready. 2 days after the vote, federal agents showed up at the office. They didn't knock. They walked through the front doors just after 10 a.m., flashed badges, and asked for access to the finance servers. Security let them through. Staff froze mid-task. I didn't explain it away. I didn't make excuses. I just stood in the middle of the operations floor and said, this is what accountability looks like. Let them do their job. Aaron was arrested first. Then, Vincent. By the end of the week, 2 more. Both mid-level program managers who'd resigned for personal reasons right before the audit results came out. They were let out in handcuffs from their condos in Northern Virginia. That same afternoon, I walked past a break room and overheard someone whisper, I didn't think she'd actually pull the trigger. I didn't stop. I didn't need the praise, but it hit me. They'd been waiting for years for someone to call it. And now that it was out, everyone had something to say. The press didn't wait for facts. The story ran wild. One headline read, Whistleblower CEO cleans house in $4.8 million scandal. Another said, Too much? Too fast? Some say director. Overcorrected. Aaron gave a statement through his attorney, calling the investigation politically motivated and saying I'd launched a personal vendetta because I couldn't handle internal criticism. He even had the nerve to throw in, Rachel always wanted to play hero. She got her moment. I didn't respond publicly. I didn't have to. Staff did it for me. Old instructors, ones who'd been pushed out under Aaron's regime, started posting videos on social media. A woman from Philly showed a ceiling leak that had collapsed above her lab bench. She'd reported it twice. Nothing was done. A man from Dallas played a voicemail from HR. Your complaint is not actionable at this time. He'd been trying to recover unpaid stipends for 4 months before he quit. Someone else posted a screenshot of a payroll discrepancy report they'd flagged in 2019. Buried. Ignored. And then came the interviews. Former staff, current staff, even janitorial crews spoke up. They didn't just tell stories, they brought receipts, photos, emails, paperwork. Within a week, the narrative flipped. We weren't hiding, we were correcting, fast and loud. Enrollment went up that month by 12%, not because we ran ads, not because we polished the brand, but because we stopped pretending everything was fine. Donors who'd been quiet started calling again. Some of them even apologized. I had no idea, one told me. If I'd known what Aaron was pulling, you knew something, I said. You just didn't ask questions. They didn't argue. Internally, we rebuilt fast. No more fake oversight layers. We cut the fluff, leveled the reporting lines, and pushed decisions closer to the people doing the actual work. Morale flipped almost overnight. A cafeteria worker emailed me. First time I've seen supervisors take the trash out with us. Don't stop. Another line in a maintenance request from Phoenix just said, "Holy shit. Thank you, I stopped needing to chase people for updates. They came to me. They told the truth. They brought real ideas, real numbers, real feedback. We printed every complaint that had been reopened and tracked it to resolution. It filled a wall in the admin wing, not to shame, to remind. My desk drawer had one last holdout, a file folder I'd carried through every title I ever held. From admin assistant to ops lead to deputy director to now. It was labeled Aaron Notes. Inside were 15 years of meetings, red flags, suspicious approvals, staff comments, small things I wasn't brave enough to report, but wasn't dumb enough to ignore. I opened it, read through every page. I thought I'd feel satisfaction, closure, something final, but all I felt was done. I grabbed the folder and walked it to the shred bin myself, fed each page through slow and steady, because I didn't need evidence anymore. I had a team that spoke up now, a board that listened, a mission that didn't have to hide in anyone's shadow. Aaron was gone, but we were just getting started. The message came through his lawyer. Aaron wanted to meet. One-on-one, off the record, before sentencing. I almost said no, but curiosity has teeth. So I agreed. They set it up in a side conference room at the courthouse. Plain walls, one table, 2 chairs, no cameras. Just a guard outside the door and a digital clock ticking behind me. He looked older, pale, thin, like someone who hadn't eaten a real meal in weeks. Same smug posture, though. Still thought he was playing chess. I sat down, didn't say a word. He did. You played the long game. I raised an eyebrow. You think this was a game? He leaned forward, elbows on the table. You waited. You collected. You built power while I was looking left. I didn't see it coming. That's the difference, I said. I wasn't trying to beat you. I was trying to stop the bleeding. He smirked. Still wearing the cape? No cape. Just didn't want to keep cleaning up your messes in silence. He tapped his fingers on the table, quick and sharp. I built that place. You walked into a machine I created. No, I said. You built a system that protected you, not the mission, not the students, not the staff. His smile faded. You think you're different, he said, but you'll learn. Everyone bends eventually. Everyone makes trade-offs. You'll become me. Maybe slower, maybe prettier, but it happens. I shook my head once. Number, you just never learned how to build something without hurting people. He didn't answer, just stared at me like I'd slapped him. Maybe I had. I stood. Good luck in sentencing. I turned and walked to the door. My heels echoed once on the tile. He called after me, quiet but sharp. You think they'll thank you when this is over? You think they'll remember what you gave up? I didn't stop walking, and I didn't look back. A year later, I walked through the main office and barely recognized the place. Laughter in the break room. Whiteboards full of ideas instead of warnings. People stayed late because they wanted to, not because they were scared to leave work unfinished. Student success had doubled, not improved, doubled. We'd launched in 4 new states. One center in Chicago had a waitlist longer than its opening roster. Staff turnover was down. Donor revenue hit an all-time high, and people finally stopped whispering when I passed by. One afternoon, Geneva called. You're being honored at the National Education Summit, she said. Full room, keynote spot. I didn't say anything at first. You earned it, she added. I flew out to Denver that week, stood on a stage under lights so bright I couldn't see the front row, and told the truth. I didn't talk about titles or numbers, I talked about trust. Leadership, I said, isn't control. It's not fear. It's not ego. It's the courage to listen, to let others lead, to admit when you've been complicit and choose better. People clapped, but I wasn't there for applause. I just wanted it on record. What real accountability looked like. After the event, I stepped down from the stage and found Ren waiting near the back exit, holding a folder. He didn't waste time. Found something else, he said. In Vincent's archive. International funds. My stomach dropped. How bad? Don't know yet. But it's tied to our old vendor network in Canada. Shell invoices. Looks like someone used program grants to move money overseas. I didn't ask who, not yet. I took the folder from him, heavy in my hand. Another storm. But this time, I wasn't standing alone at the center. I had teams, processes, people who knew how to speak up and who knew they'd be heard. I nodded once. Let's get to work. We walked toward the exit side by side, and I knew this time no one was going to bury the truth.